Hello, everybody. No master above, no slave below. Surprise! NSA data will soon routinely be used for domestic policing that has nothing to do with terrorism. Now, the problem with all these things coming out is not the fact that the truth is coming out, but nothing is getting done about the fact that the truth is actually getting out. And all these people have thought, oh, you're crazy. You think that they've got some kind of agenda. Well, this has now come out, and this is public knowledge. This is from the Washington Post, Ryan Balco. A while back, we noted a report showing that sneak and peek provision of the Patriot Act that was alleged to be used only in national security and terrorism investigations has overwhelmingly been used in narcotic cases. Now, the New York Times reports the National Security Agency data will be shared with other intelligence agencies like the FBI without first applying any screens for privacy. The ACLU of Massachusetts blog Privacy SOS explains why this is important. What did this rule change mean for you? In short, domestic law enforcement officials now have access to huge troves of American communications obtained without warrants. They can use this to put people in cages. FBI agents don't need to have any national security related reason to plug your name, email address, phone number, or other selector into the NSA's gargantuan data trove. They can simply poke around in your private information in the course of totally routine investigations. And if they find something that suggests, say, involvement in illegal drug activity, they can send the information to local or state police. That means information the NSA collects for the purposes of so-called national security will be used by police to lock up ordinary Americans for routine crimes. And we don't have to guess who's going to substitutional indignity the most brutally. It'll be black, brown, poor, immigrant, Muslim, dissident Americans, the same people who are always targeted by law enforcement for extra special attention. This basically formalizes what was already happening under the radar. We've known for a couple of years now the Drug Enforcement Administration and the IRS were getting information from the NSA. Because that information was obtained without a warrant, the agencies were instructed to engage in parallel construction when explaining to courts and defense attorneys how the information had been obtained. If you think parallel construction just sounds like a bureaucratically sterilized way of saying big stinking lie, well, you wouldn't be alone. And it certainly isn't the only time that the national security apparatus has let law enforcement agencies benefit from policies that are supposed to be reserved for terrorism investigations in order to get around the Fourth Amendment. Then instructed those law enforcement agencies to misdirect, fudge, and outright lie about how they obtained incriminating information. See the Stingray debacle. Now, Stingray is one of those devices that the police can use. I think it could be outside your house. And they could basically tell exactly who's in the house, where they are in the house, and they can actually hear through the walls and basically see through the walls with like an infrared type technology. This isn't just a few rogue agents. The lying has been a matter of policy. We're now learning that the feds had these agreements with police agencies all over the country, affecting thousands of cases. On one hand, I guess it's better than the new data sharing policy is acknowledged in the open instead of carried out surreptitiously. On the other hand, there's something even more ominous about the fact that they no longer feel as though they need to hide it. Now that's my big problem with all this stuff that comes out and then nothing gets done about it because you give them an inch and they're going to take a mile. It's all another sobering reminder that any powers we grant to the federal government for the purpose of national security will inevitably be used just about everywhere else. And extraordinary powers we grant government in wartime rarely go away once the war is over. And of course, the nifty thing about the government agencies about war on terrorism is that the war will never formally end. So to all those people out there who say, well, they need to do this to keep us safe, and I'm not doing nothing wrong, so it has no effect on me. Well, what you're basically missing the point of is that you have a Fourth Amendment right to your privacy. And with that right comes rights that the government are supposed to be protecting, not taking them away. And basically, everything they seem to do now these days is about national security, it's about homeland security, it's about keeping people safe. But if you're going to give up your liberties for security, you're going to get neither. And down the road, all this information will be used against you. They do not gather all this information for no reason, just to possibly think, well, this might help keep us safe in the future. It's going to, like you said, it's going to target the poor. It's going to target dissidents, anybody who doesn't agree with how this corrupt government is being run. And like I said, this is from the Washington Post. So this isn't some, alternative news site that you're like, oh, I can't give it any credibility. Not that I would give the Washington Post much credibility, other than they're excelling at giving us propaganda. But this is actual real news. This is the truth. And yet nothing will be done about this.
New matter to the judge. Fox News senior judicial analyst Judge Andrew Napolitano. Harry Reid says we should just calm down. It's been going on a long time. They've been able to stop some sort of terrorism, this, that, or the other thing. So just don't worry about it. Just relax, everybody.
See, the laws are really screwy here, Shep. The laws allow the executive branch, the president and his agents, to tell select members of Congress when they are doing things like that, but prohibits those members of Congress from telling the other members of Congress or the American people. Just because Harry Reid knew about this for 7 years and it's been going on for 7 years does not mean that it is constitutionally permissible. This is a fishing expedition on the grandest scale we've ever seen in American history. They are looking for a select group of people, and in order to find that select group of people, the Constitution says, present some evidence against them to a judge and you'll get a search warrant for their phones. Rather than doing that, they got a search warrant for 113 million phones.
That we know of.
That we know of. And they said to us, don't worry.
It's fine.
Trust us. We're not listening to the calls. We're just keeping records of them. Who would trust them after this? The Constitution doesn't trust them. As Catherine Harris just pointed out, they lied under oath, this administration, when they were asked under oath, are you collecting information about American citizens? And Admiral Clapper, who's the head of all this, said, no, we're not.
Listen to Lindsey Graham, Senator Lindsey Graham, listen.
I'm a Verizon customer. I don't mind Verizon turning over records to the government if the government's going to make sure that they try to match up a known terrorist phone with somebody in the United States.
But that's not what they're doing.
No,
they're looking into all of our phones. All we know about is Verizon. That's the 100 and something million. There are other phone companies out there. Their records haven't leaked. Who are we to think they didn't do this with all of them? Of course we're to think that.
The whole purpose of the Fourth Amendment is to prevent the government from doing just this. It's to prevent it from interfering with the privacy rights of innocent people, a lot of innocent people, in order to find a few that may be planning something wrong. Nobody wants the wrong thing to happen. But the idea that we would sacrifice liberty in order to obtain safety is a canard. This is just a shortcut to make it easier for America's spies to spying on Americans. Shit. They spied on the West Wing. They spied on the Pentagon. They spied on the Supreme Court. They spied on the CIA. This is spies spying on spies. This is the most extraordinarily broad search warrant ever issued in the history of the federal courts of the United States.
That we know of.
That we know of.
Under this logic, the government could send people to all of our homes, put them in a bed next to us, have them watch everything. Under this logic, they can do anything.
Under Senator Graham's logic, he'll be happy with it as long as they catch a few bad guys.
Yeah, well, we'll see how happy he is when he runs the next traffic light. The government agent sitting next to him goes, nope, you're in the traffic light. Here we go. Time to drone you.
Would it be easier for the government if the police could kick down any door they wanted
Sure.
and arrest any bad guy? Of course it would. But who would want to live in a society like that?
The slippery slope is covered in grease.
There's a chance that NSA whistleblower Edward Snowden's revelations on government mass surveillance has had a chilling effect on what people are now willing to search on the internet. Traffic to Wikipedia pages about terror groups and their tools plunged nearly 30% since the Snowden leaks about the government's widespread web monitoring. Correlation or causation? Here to discuss is Emmy Award-winning legal and media analyst Lionel of Lionel Media. Now, Lionel, a 30% drop. That's a big drop. So does this mean that government snooping is getting in the way of an ordinary pursuit of information?
No, it doesn't mean that. I don't know what it means. If we found out, Simone, that porn site surfing dropped precipitously when you and I did a segment, what does that mean? I don't know. Correlation versus cause. But let's go to the bigger issue here. The government believes somehow that you're going to be able to find out about something by seeing what somebody investigates. Now, I don't know about you, but during the day, if you saw the stuff that I search just to do this story, or that you search, or any journalist worth his or her salt, what does this tell us? It's great after the fact. Remember during the Casey Anthony case when they found out, gee, look, she was researching how to drown a child or how to dispose of a body. That's terrific post hoc. But understand this little issue. What happens if somebody decides to go to another country and that country is dealing with our NSA and that country finds out that this person has been investigating whether homosexuality is against the law or people who are disappeared and the like? That may mean something elsewhere. Right now, as we speak, researchers, doctors, law enforcement personnel are looking up Marburg viruses and ricin. People, just because they show a glimmer of curiosity about something, that doesn't mean anything. And it all goes to show you, Simone, that everybody wants to find this Minority Report connection. That if we have enough data, enough information, if we could just vacuum as much information, that we could somehow put these together, cobble together some kind of a cause and effect, and we'll be able to predict what's happening. But so far, there's no indication at all of that.
Well, I know when we first heard about all of this mass surveillance, as journalists, we knew that we would be flagged for certain activity, but hopefully we have the defense of being a journalist and looking that up. But this study is interesting because it is really hard to measure a chilling effect. So what sort of broader implications do you think that this could have on First Amendment rights, like free speech, and really just the health of the democratic society as a whole?
Well, it goes to show you, it's a great question. What it means is that the government is going after everything. It's going to crack your iPhone. It's going to want to know what you look for. It's going to go after your cloud, your URLs. I get it. And I think all of us are becoming habituated and conditioned to the fact that we know, you want all of our data. Now, either a couple of things have happened. One, we're just giving up. We've habituated to such an extent that we don't even care anymore. Or maybe what we're doing is there's a degree of fighting back, where we say, go ahead, government, go ahead and vacuum my data. What are you going to get out of it? And by the way, if you think that, and I'm not suggesting this, that we couldn't park something somewhere on a cloud that really might be very, very interesting. I mean, if you think that what you are actually keying into your computer is it, look, I remember the Anarchists of Cookbook. I remember Paladin Press. I remember there was issues years ago of should we allow people to know how to make a nuclear bomb? This is the oldest issue possible. But Simone, think about this. Tonight, tomorrow, when you do your research, and everybody watching, imagine your search words being read to a jury. How demented you will sound. You know, kittens playing the piano, pizza recipes, plutonium poisoning. I mean, just think about it. It goes to show you this weird kind of a free association. And if you're the government, go ahead. Make heads or tails out of this. And not only that, we're in the news business. This is what we do.
Yeah. It would be hard to piece that puzzle together. I can't imagine what your search browser looks
Especially
like.
yours.
Pointing fingers here. Legal and media analyst Lionel of Lionel Media. Thank you.
Thank you.
There's a